Hey guys, so random video. We came across this, and I haven't heard of this show in a long time. It's called Two Fat Ladies. Great show. It's just two British women go around culinary stuff. They cook. It's a great show. I watched it all the time when I was a kid. Um, and yes, the name of the show is Two Fat Ladies. Um, Nowadays, that would probably, be considered as fat phobic, but this was back in the day when people weren't so easily offended. So after seeing Two Fat Ladies, I was like, let's see what other full episodes of like old shows I used to watch. Then I found Molto Mario with Mario Batali. This one had Jake and Maggie Gyllenhaal on it. Um, and I mean, I loved like this show was on late at night, so I lay there in bed watching TV, and I'd be watching this, and you get so much information, and you see so many great dishes in the span of 23 minutes. Um, but some of these comments, uh, people were like, "These people ask dumb questions." No, they don't ask dumb questions. They're people who don't cook. So they're asking questions because they don't know the information. Like, the difference between how long does homemade pasta cook compared to store-bought pasta, or, fillings, or, what season, because he uses parsnips. And I think Jake asks, what season, when are they good to get? And he tells you when they're, this time to this time. They're not stupid questions. Um, One person said about the lasagna, he's like, "Oh, yeah, let it cool down and everything." And I mean, in here, he outright says, he's like, "I'm going to cut into this just so you can kind of see what happens when you cut into the lasagna too early." Because everybody knows if you're making a lasagna, you have to let it set. Because as soon as you cut into it, it's still cooking and it's still kind of liquidy, and you're going to cut into it and it's just going to. So you have to let it set, thicken up a bit before you cut into it. It's kind of like pies or something, where you have to let it sit so that way it can finish cooking, cool down, thicken up, so that way when you cut into it, it just doesn't all over the place. Um, but yeah, Two Fat Ladies, Mario, Emerald, um, who else? Julia Child. Julia Child. Who else? Pretty much anything on the Food Network. Food Network back in the day was really good. Like, it was actual like cooking shows. Now it's all just like food competitions. Um, who else? God, who else would I watch? Um, oh God, what's the name? With Alton Brown, Good Eats. That was a really good one. It was kind of like a mixture of Pee Wee's Playhouse and Bill Nye and stuff. Sometimes he'd go into the science of the foods, like what makes them up and what binds them together, and certain flavors, how they interact with one another. He had skits and stuff. It was Alton Brown was really really cool. He still is cool. Um, but Good Eats was a good one. Uh, let's see. Can you watch whole episodes here? Good Eats. I mean, hell, the golden brown and delicious. That was like one of his favorite things to say whenever he was making something that could be golden brown and delicious. Um, oh, it's actually his. Okay, it's actually his channel. Um, but yeah, Alton Brown, really cool. Like I said, it was really like a kind of wacky skit-like show. I mean, let's see, what else did I watch? And if you guys watched any of these, let me know. Especially like Two Fat Ladies. I mean, how many people remember that show? Um, uh, yeah, who else? Uh, Hang on, let me see if I can. I'll just type in like old cooking shows, see if anything comes up. So I put in old cooking shows from 2000s. Rachel Ray, her. Her voice was so grating. Just so she would not shut up. Nigella. Oh, ooh, 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 ooh. If you know, you know. Um, Paula Deen, from my family to yours. Freaking Paula Deen and her 50 pounds of butter and everything. It's like, well, Paula Deen's creamy macaroni and cheese. Well, I'm going to be making some deep fried butter. Now, first, we're going to start with a pan of butter. Then we're going to take our butter, and before we add it into the pan, we're going to take our butter and roll it around in butter. You know, and then doesn't use oil. She uses butter. She deep fries it in butter. She doesn't really do that, but people uh, kind of point out that she uses a lot of butter. Um, but uh, Emerald, yeah, Emerald Live. God, 2000. Jesus, I'm old. Um, Cooking with beer. By the bay, where watermelons grow. A day at the beach, seafood feast, classic chicken. The food is free, so we should just sell it at the farmer's market. But yeah, so Emerald, Julia Child. Now, not obviously not at the same time. Just saying, growing up, there were, you know, you Julia Child was not on at the same time as Emerald. You know, Julia Child was something we watched like early '90s. Emerald was 2000s. Um, Two Fat Ladies, I think, were in the '90s, like the late '90s, early 2000s. But these were just shows watched as a kid and young teen. Um, it's crazy. But yeah, I like Malto Mario because again, like I said, you have 20 minutes and you got so much information, learned about parts of Italy, um, and you had, sometimes three, four amazing dishes all within 20 something minutes. You know, it was just, and basically it was just him. He was sitting, he had three people sitting there. They got to ask him questions, and they would, whenever he was finished, here you go. And they get to eat, and then when the next dish came out, they got to eat that. So I mean, you're sitting there, you're getting to eat, you're learning how to cook, you're getting to interact with him, ask questions. Again, people are like, "Oh, stupid questions." No, if you're not a person who cooks, if you're not a trained chef, some of these things you're not going to know. You're not going to know when parsnips are in season. You're not going to know the difference between cooking times for homemade and store bought pasta. You're not going to know any of that because you don't do it. So it's like they say, there's no such thing as a stupid question, unless it actually is a stupid question. A stupid question would be like, I don't know, going into a store and asking for something specific, and then it's like, where is the rice? But then you look up and then it says rice. That's a stupid question because all you had to do was look up and it would say rice and what aisle it's in. That's a stupid question. But saying, hey, when are parsnips in season? That's not a stupid question. Because again, not everyone's a chef, especially celebrities who most likely aren't cooking for themselves. Just saying. Um, but I really liked these shows back in the day where, same thing with Emerald. He'd have people sitting there. It was a bigger audience, but like you would go out and he's like, oh yeah, everyone share and blah, blah, blah. I really like that interaction that people, the chefs had with people. Like I said, nowadays it's just like all food competitions and it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, like I was on Netflix, they have Iron Chef, and I love Iron Chef. I mean, it's not the original the Iron Chef America where it's like Bobby Flay and, all of them. it was still good. It's still good. I still love watching people take ingredients and just make something out of it. It's like, yeah, your secret ingredient today is like cow hearts, and like somehow they need to make these delicious dishes from cow hearts. Have to make something that incorporates that. You know, or it's like one of them was touch of fire or something. So like every dish they made had to be touched by fire in some kind of way. Um, so it was interesting to see how people use ingredients. Um, so Iron Chef is just still one of my favorite shows um, on Food Network. Uh, but yeah, some of these people forgot about. Like I said, Two Fat Ladies, and I saw that I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, those women were just delightful. I mean, they were two British ladies. They had a good sense of humor. Um, and like I said with the name, Two Fat Ladies, nowadays that would never fly. Fat phobic. It's like, but the people on it are the ones who named it, and they have no problem calling themselves fat ladies. If they're not offended, why would you be offended? It's just. Mm. Um, but yeah, let me know if you watched any of that stuff. Julia Child, um, Two Fat Ladies, Emerald, Mario, um, again Nigella. Ooh, if you know, you know. Um, there's another one. Who am I thinking of? I think Wolfgang Puck had a show for a little while, but or if you're older, maybe cooking shows from 60s or 70s or something like that. Um, yeah, let me know. Sometimes you forget about these things and then you see the name and you're like, oh my God. Nostalgic. I watched it. I'm like, oh my God, I remember these two. They're just delightful women. Just delightful women who go out, to certain, areas and, culinary adventures, and they go and cook and they just enjoy life. You know, they know that they're overweight slightly, but that doesn't stop. They enjoy what they do, and they, like I said, they're just delightful. Just two pleasant women who enjoy cooking and who have a great sense of humor. But yeah, let me know what kind of cooking shows you watched when you were young or old. Doesn't matter. Anyway, that's gonna do for me. You guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.